I don't know who was like the anti-Heyman. Like it's like Vince, probably, right?
Like, Vince, yeah.
And that's why I'm like, it can't really be Vince.
That would be hilarious.
Like
Vince
that's
McMahon
what
comes
it's like
back
the first...
as his wise man. That would kind of be awesome.
That would be the biggest heel move of all time, dude.
Welcome back to the Burning Hammer podcast. I'm Mark Izzo, he is Dillon O'Brien, and we are your hosts. And for this episode, we will be outlining how we think this Bloodline story is going to play out for the foreseeable future. However, before we get into that, there's two really good ways you can help support the Burning Hammer. Number one is to buy our merch. We just released a brand new design, Roman Reigns presidential tee that we're super proud of. We have 8 total designs up right now. They're all around like $23, but they hold sales quite often to where you can get a t-shirt for like $16. So definitely check that out. You can click the link in the description, or you can head over to our social media and you can go to our bios and you can check out all of our cool shit over there. The second good way to help support us is to sign up for our Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can join the World Champion tier, and what that gets you is ad-free content. What? Early content. What? And exclusive content. What? $1 a month. And then even if you don't want to pay the $1, you can still sign up for free, and we do still post some stuff on there for the freebies out there that don't want to pay the $1, but that's chump change. You can go search in your couch, and you can probably find $1 there for the first month to see if you like it or not. So again, that will also be in the description as along with in our bio of our social media. So better see you wearing the merch. We better see you in the Patreon, because we will be responding a lot in the Patreon, because we want to chat with the Burning Hammer universe, and that's going to be the best way to do it. So, Dillon, are you ready to discuss this Bloodline story? Because I am pumped.
Let's get into it, Mark. There is there's a lot to dive into here, and we've said so many times that we can just spend we could spend truly we could probably build an entire podcast around the entire Bloodline story at this point.
We could,
but definitely I think the goal, I don't know, we didn't discuss too far in depth how far into the story we were going to go. I was assuming up till Mania 41.
That's where I kind of... That was the end goal for me as well.
Yeah, so, but like this deserves an episode in itself for sure, because there's a lot that is going to happen in the next coming however many months to 8 months now, or however many till WrestleMania. So it's going to be electric.
So
I can't wait.
Let's kick off with this. At time of recording, Roman Reigns has yet to say a word. Now, maybe he cuts a promo on the August 23rd episode of SmackDown, but we're recording this prior to that. Dillon, when do you think Roman is going to actually speak?
Yeah, hard to say now, right? Because it felt like... It's hard to say, because it felt like he was going to speak probably on this week, to be honest. This past week, I thought was when we were going to hear from him. So who knows, man? I'm really trying to think this out. It could be a tough one. I think there's a good chance that we don't hear from him until after Bash in Berlin.
Agreed. That's what I was thinking too.
I think maybe the first SmackDown after Bash. Because I think
because-
maybe they want to build for Bash right now. They don't want people to get too excited about other stuff. They want them to be focused on the matches for Bash. And then when Roman talks, that's when we're going to get a lot more. I guess that's when we'll get the ball rolling a lot more in the story. So what? And I mean, as of right now, this is where we stand in the story. Roman Reigns has yet to say a word, and he picked up the Ulafala, and he was able to place it back onto its rightful shoulders before he was swiftly kicked with a walking boot. That was nuts. Like, I don't know how awesome. Jacob Fatu got his... That must have been so heavy, right? Like, just lift your foot like that. That was nuts. He kicked him with the boot. That was crazy.
They're not light.
That's what I mean. Like, it was a smaller one, but still, like, they're not light at all.
He beat the shit out of him with the walking boot, dude. That was crazy.
I mean, just the feat of, like, literally getting your foot that high with a boot on it.
And I'll tell you this, too. This is, like, also, like, how insane Jacob Fatu is. And this was not even a crazy thought. I literally thought he was going to hit his, like, Whisper in the Wind thing off the top rope with the walking boot on. Like, because he probably could. That's what I was, like, my first thing. I was like, is he really going to do this? Because, like, that's just how highly that like, I think of his skill set.
That would have been truly fucking nuts.
Dude, that would have been insane. And the best part was no one really acknowledged his walking boot. I thought that, like, the announce team could have potentially, like, added more to this with them just being kind of, like, commenting on it and being like, not even his injured foot could stop this Samoan werewolf or something like that. But, like, it was just that's what made it way more funny, because, like, no one really just acknowledged that he's
I feel like maybe they didn't acknowledge it. I feel like maybe they didn't acknowledge it so, like, to not make people think that he's hurt. Like, if maybe they're trying to be like act like he's really not hurt.
Okay.
Like, if it's not major.
Makes sense, 'cause they didn't,
like, he might be on SmackDown this week, like, without
it.
You know what I mean? So they might just be like, that might just be like, all right, dude, like, you're only going to be in the boot for another week. We could use you for this segment if you're able to just do one segment with the boot on. Like,
you're going to go out there.
And we'll just ignore it.
And kick Roman in the head, and no one's going to say anything about it, but it's going to be awesome. And it was.
We will say plenty about it. So, and then, obviously, the Ulafala was taken back. Seconds after it was put back onto the shoulders of Roman Reigns, and Solo stood tall with the tag team champions beside him. So, where do we go from here?
That's a great question, Dylan. So, I'll tell you this too. Let's start with this. We talked about it last week, but let's give a brief yes or no. Is there a match going to be added from this storyline on the Bash in Berlin card?
No.
Okay, I fully agree. So, because at time of recording, there's only 4 matches. So I
would say they probably
Raw and 1 SmackDown.
Yeah, and they'll probably add one more. Might be a tag team title match, maybe. No, because that's on SmackDown, right? No, that's on SmackDown. Yeah, on SmackDown, yeah.
And the U.S. title, he's defending on SmackDown too. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess he already did by the time this came out, I think. But that's why I'm like, maybe it's Nia versus Mishin, because that's kind of like.
Oh yeah, it's probably that.
One of the big other stories that's going down, but we both agree, nothing here is going to happen at Bash in Berlin with the Bloodline. So we're past that. I think, like you said earlier, the first SmackDown after Bash is when we're going to get Roman Reigns cutting a promo. So what are your thoughts about Roman just kind of like fighting this new bloodline these past 2 weeks, and no one's really saying anything? It's kind of been like the same thing for 2 weeks in a row, maybe 3 weeks in a row if the same thing happened this past Friday night SmackDown. But like, they can't have that happen like a third time, right? Because it's like starting to feel like it's getting old. Or am I tripping?
Well, I think technically last week was the first time that they got the one up on Roman. So far, each week has ended with Roman standing tall. And this past week was the first
finally
one.
Caught up to him.
Yeah. So I think that's where I think Roman stood tall a couple times. This past week, Solo stood tall with the new bloodline. This week, I think maybe, dude, I really think there's a good chance that this week, we have Solo. We have Roman get taken out by them again. Honestly, and then potentially Solo standing tall again. To kind of, I guess, hammer it home that Roman needs help. I think would be the thing. And then we get to after Bash in Berlin. So really, I think regardless of what happens, we're playing the game until the next progression of the storyline is going to happen after Bash in Berlin. All right. So then the premium live events before the next premium live events are Crown Jewel, right?
Bad Blood, Crown Jewel, and then Survivor Series.
Bad Blood, Crown Jewel, Survivor Series. So, are we going to get Roman versus Solo at Bad Blood?
No.
Interesting. Where do you think we go from? So, let's say Bash at Berlin is over. What's the next progression? Where do we go next?
Bash in Berlin is over. Roman is starting to realize that the numbers are becoming a bit too much. So whether he asks for help or not, we're going to start to then get the ball rolling with the Usos reuniting.
I think we get. I think it's got to be Jimmy first, right?
Jimmy first.
Jimmy first. Right. So I think maybe it starts with. So do you think the Jimmy return?
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you my idea.
Bring us to Bad Blood.
Ideas.
Bring us to Bad Blood, Mark.
All right. The August 23rd episode of SmackDown, I think Roman Reigns is going to try to cut his first promo, but then he's going to get attacked. So then the Go Home episode of SmackDown, which would be this week for you guys watching, I don't think the Bloodline is going to be featured on that at all because that's going to be in Berlin. So then the next SmackDown after that is when we're getting Roman. He's going to come out. He's going to cut the promo, but the numbers are going to be too much. And so he's going to kind of officially lay down like what he's going to do. And I think he needs to also speak on choosing to pursue Solo instead of Cody and kind of what the plan is for him moving forward and not going after the WWE Championship. Because we got that moment when he returned where he looked at Cody and he looked at Solo and he chose Solo. But now I think we should get a bit of an explanation for that. So then we have no premium live event in September. October 5th, Bad Blood. There's two things I think that could happen. Number one, I think there's a chance we get Jimmy and Jay versus Tama and Tonga as a tag team match. However, I don't think that's going to happen because I think that that is a bit too fast for them.
Yeah,
to
when
make
would the
up
Jimmy
in a
and Jay
month's time.
reunion happen at that point? Like just up
It would
in the
have
build?
to happen in September.
Like
Yeah.
in the build, you're saying? Gotcha. I
Yeah.
agree. I think it does
But
feel a little quick.
I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. So, yeah, that was my first thought. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think there's a good chance it does. But here's what I think will happen. I think that sometime in September, the numbers are going to continue to be too much for our boy Roman. And then Jimmy's going to come to Roman's aid in September. But then the numbers are still going to be too much. And Roman's going to challenge Jacob Fatu for a match at Bad Blood.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing now that I really like once you started talking that out, I was like, you might like yeah, Jacob Fatu versus Roman at Bad Blood. I think that's a good call, Mark. I think that's a really good call. I think
and I know that they want to protect Fatu and not give him a big loss, but I think that like he's gonna go out there and he's gonna look like an absolute animal, and taking a loss to a Mount Rushmore wrestler like Roman
yeah, they
Reigns
know
will
taking
not
a loss
hurt
to Roman
Jacob
Reigns
at
isn't,
all.
it's fine. Yeah,
Yeah, he's gonna go out there. He's gonna look strong as hell, and it's going to be a great match. So, what are you think that's kind of the same thing? That's like, what are your thoughts about the story from after Bash leading up to Bad Blood, and what's your match for Bad Blood?
yeah. I think I like where your head's at. I think there's a really good chance we get Roman and Jacob Fatu. I think the big question is the result. You know what I mean? Because what are the odds that Fatu goes over? Not clean, obviously.
Oh, now
Definitely
don't get me excited.
no, definitely not clean. But like with interference from the Bloodline, what are the odds if we get to that match that Fatu goes over? Because I think the odds are more likely than people think.
I think there's a good chance it happens.
Yeah, I think there's probably like 50-50, to be honest. Like
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
no, that's what I'm saying, because it just feels like that's probably the progression in the story, right? Like that's probably like Roman getting a win doesn't make him grow as a person, you know what I mean? And that's where we're at right now with Roman. Not to be weird, but like
yeah,
we're in the we're in the growth as like a human being, you know what I mean? We're building that bond back with the family and realizing he's this whole thing, and we'll obviously get to it in my head, is him obviously not only being disrespected by Solo and trying to be replaced and everything, but him realizing by looking at Solo being like, holy shit, is that what I was like? Like,
yeah.
So, and I think that's what we need to like, that's how we get like, you know what I mean? And that's where Roman gets the, oh my God, dude, like no wonder people weren't fucking with me. You know what I mean? Like no wonder Jay wanted to leave, and no wonder Sammy turned, and all these guys. And that could be how he brings, you know, like a guy like Jay and Sammy back in. We'll get to that, obviously. But I say that because, yeah, that's why it feels like a Jacob Fatu going over, obviously not clean, with interference, would be the best thing for the story. Like a Roman win doesn't, because then it's like he would feel kind of satisfied at that point, right?
Yeah, I don't think that it yeah, I don't think it does much for the story, like you said, for like him beating Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
Because like I just think it like I think you hit the nail right on the gosh darn head with kind of like the psychology of Roman and that story and him growing as a person and kind of like almost looking in a mirror at Solo and Solo's bloodline to be like, oh, that's what I was like. Like, I've kind of helped create this monster, and I once was a monster, and now I need to like end this reign. So why don't you talk us through what do you think happens after Bad Blood?
Yeah. So Bad Blood leads us into Crown Jewel, right? And
November 2nd.
Yeah. And you gotta think they're gonna want Roman Reigns on that card, right?
Yeah. Roman's on that card.
So I just want to throw this out there as a crazy, not like whatever, shot in the dark idea. What are the odds? I kind of have a feeling we might get one of two matches, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these are both a little bit too big. But we all know that the Saudi Arabia is willing to dish out some money for some high-profile matches. So honestly, if it ain't Mania, there's probably a good chance it'll, you know what I mean? Saudi Arabia is not a bad bet for a match to happen. I say that because I think one of two matches really might happen. I think Roman may get his rematch with Cody Rhodes.
Okay.
I think that's less likely. And I don't think this one's like
I could see it.
Super likely either. What are the odds that we get The Rock versus Cody?
Okay, now we're talking. That was I actually thought that same exact thing.
Yeah. So who knows where we go? But so in my head, I think Roman is on this card. I think maybe this is where we potentially get Roman versus Solo. One-on-one.
Agreed.
And then I also think on this card, I think the main event of this card is The Rock versus Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. That was literally the two matches that I had down for Crown Jewel as well, because initially I forgot about the Saudi show. And so I initially did have Roman versus Solo at Bad Blood, but then I was like, they're going to do Roman versus Solo at Saudi. And then the other thing that was kind of constantly in the back of my head was like, when is The Rock going to come back to challenge Cody? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a chance it could happen at WrestleMania, but I think all signs are pointing to Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and can we get clear and
come out?
Let's get clear and candid. Nobody wants Rock and Cody at Mania. Everyone's down for that match. No, like, you got pissed at us for getting mad about not giving a. You got pissed at us at getting mad about Rock and Roman. Because you wanted to do Rock and Roman at 40, and they were all like, whatever, and they had to pivot, obviously. So don't overthink this shit and like add too much to the story. They've pivot, like, it's obviously become such a good story with Cody involved, especially with the Cody and the Rock stuff now. But they don't need to drag this out and have us wait now have us wait till WrestleMania 42 to have Rock and Roman. That doesn't need to happen. And honestly, Cody just has other stories that we'd rather. Like, I'm all about this Cody and Rock match. And I think that's the biggest way that The Rock can show he's not a selfish piece of shit is wrestle not at WrestleMania, dude. You know what I mean? Like, not every Rock match has to be at WrestleMania. If he actually gives a shit about this business, like he says he does, he'll be willing to wrestle more than just once a year at WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's be real here.
So,
and the movies aren't going really
also,
not well. So like, so my question to you, Mark, is, I think there's no doubt in the both of our minds that Cody would go over, but
you would hope, but
he would
there's always Vince McMahon whispering in the back of my head.
Nah, he would go over.
Gives me a little bit of worry in my tummy.
No, he would go over because Roman would help him, right? Probably. Like, so my big like thing with this, right, is if The Rock challenges Cody, then like, do we know where do The Rock and Roman stand? That's what we need. You know what I mean? Because we can't have like the build up to that. I guess we theoretically could, but like, are they just not going to interact? Like, is The Rock?
They would have to.
That's what I'm saying. So would that mean that they would? Because at some point, what I'm trying to get to is at some point, it's gonna get revealed that The Rock is. It's like no doubt in my mind, The Rock is the one who assigned Solo Sikoa as the new tribal chief, right? I think you probably feel the same way.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, when do we find out that is the case? After Bad Blood? Is it? Because in my head, I'm like, it would have to be before.
Definitely after Bad Blood.
Yeah, but obviously, but it would have to be before Crown Jewel, right?
Yeah, that would make the most sense to where it's kind of a situation of Roman's dealing with like the bloodline stuff. He just took a loss to Jacob Fatu potentially. Jimmy's with them. We're kind of probably will start to get Jay back in the picture along with maybe another member to come to his aid in the coming weeks.
So do you think it's a thing where Jimmy comes to Roman's aid, or Roman has to go and like ask Jimmy for his help?
I think Jimmy comes to his aid. I don't think Roman's going to ask for anybody's help.
Okay.
I think
he will.
It doesn't
at some point.
Oh, you think he will?
Not Jimmy.
Okay.
Not necessarily Jimmy, but I think he's going to have to probably ask everyone else. And I think he's going to have to like apologize to them.
See, I think it's going to be Jimmy's going to come back first, and then he's going to try to get Jay back, and then I think that Jay will help, but I think that then Roman will ask him kind of after Jay first helps, if that makes sense. So, like, I don't think Roman's going to initially be like, Jay, I need your help with this. I think it's Jay's going to kind of do it, whether that's on his own or whether that's from Jimmy's influence. Jay's going to come out to help, and then Roman is going to be like, I'm going to need your help in this fight. And like I think it's going to take some time for Roman to realize that he can't do this by himself, and he's going to need his bloodline.
I agree. I agree.
That's kind of where
I'm with you. I do think
it's
going to. I'm with you on that. I think he's going to, but I think for it to all make sense, he's going to have to. Like you said, it's going to take some time, but he's going to have to realize he can't do it by himself, and he's going to have to realize that nobody is going to be there begging to help Roman. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody is.
But I think his bloodline will.
You think they're going to be eager to help him? He screwed him over, man. Besides Jimmy. Jimmy. Jimmy's the only one that will come back and help Roman.
Yeah, then I think Jimmy's going to get Jay.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think and then it's like Jimmy.
And then I think he goes for an outside. Like,
and then I think the thing is like Jimmy tries to pull Jay. Roman is a little bit hesitant to like, you know what I mean? But like he knows he needs Jay, but he's obviously a little hesitant because he doesn't want to ask Jay for help. And then like essentially Jimmy has to be like, Roman, just apologize, man. That's what you have to do. Like,
yeah.
And then like eventually Roman's going to be like, I'm sorry, Jay. I need you. Like, you know what I mean? And then that's when we'll get the 3 group hug.
So let me ask you this real quick before I forget. Do you think we'll pause here for a brief second before we get into Survivor Series, because we both think Roman versus Solo at Crown Jewel, Saudi Arabia, and then we both think that's going to be Rock versus Cody at Saudi Arabia. So before we get into Survivor Series later that month, do you think Solo's bloodline is going to get a new wise man?
Have people been? Has that been a stir? Has that been in the stirs, or did you just come up with that yourself?
That's off the dome, buddy. It's all me. You
didn't even think about it, did we?
So,
I mean, the obvious choice is Rikishi, right?
Yeah, I was thinking 2 people: Rikishi, Armando Estrada. Umaga's manager.
Yeah, because Armando Estrada.
I think Rikishi makes the most sense.
Yeah. Rikishi does make the most sense. I could see them just going without one. I could see this new version of the Bloodline thinking that they don't need a wise man. You know what I mean? But if they do get one, I mean, it's got to be Rikishi. Like, that's the...
Doesn't Rikishi like take Solo's side on like X all the time? With like their little shtick, he'll kind of be like, "Yeah, you were my."
I can't remember.
Am I making that up?
I don't know. I couldn't. Yeah,
that's fair. I don't even follow him. I just see people retweet him and whatnot.
But
Rikishi would be sick. Give it to me. Because he is pretty vocal about this story on X.
I think another potential, I guess, candidate. I mean, not that this isn't a specific person. Like I don't have anybody by name, but just anybody who is essentially like a longtime rival or of Heyman. Of some sort, you know what I mean? Like someone very opposite Heyman. Whoever that could be, whether that's Tommy Dreamer, who once, or that's Tommy Dreamer, and then we go for the whole Dreamer can try to kill Heyman again in this angle, but this time, chill, be an angle. I don't know who was like the anti-Heyman. Like it's like Vince, probably, right? Like,
Vince, yeah.
And that's why I'm like, it can't really be Vince.
That would be hilarious.
Like
if
the
Vince
that's
McMahon
what
comes
it's like
back
the first.
as his wise man. That would kind of be awesome.
That would be the biggest heel move of all time, dude. Oh
That'd be
my
insane.
god. Jesus Christ. But that's truly, it's
You've
like,
got no chance.
if someone
insane.
is,
That would be so fucking.
I mean, if you're looking for the anti-Heyman, no one
Good
like.
lord.
I mean, that's his anti-Heyman. That's like that's the opposite. But I don't
So,
know. I guess I would. I lean no, but if they do, I think it would have to be Rikishi.
I agree. When do you think Heyman comes back with Roman?
I think Heyman is the very final piece. I think Heyman comes back either at Survivor Series or like the go home show, like before Survivor Series.
I like
because I think Heyman is the very last piece. I think Roman says, no, it's not right. I need my wise man. Like you know what I mean? He's like, something's missing.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right without the wise man. Like, so, and then I think that's when we get, because we know if anybody's riding for that man Roman, it's the wise shit, bro. The wise man might come down and try to attack Solo if they're beating up if the new Bloodline's beating up Roman.
Whoa.
That might be when we get we get Paul running down trying.
Dude, he takes off his jacket, rolls up his sleeves. He just gets knocked out. Like
that's honestly a really good idea.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Because then
that's all I'm saying.
Because then that's when you can do the Jimmy return. Like the three of them are looking at the three of them are like staring down Paul, like, really? You want to do this? You want to stick up for this? You want to stick up? And then you hear, ooh, so. I don't know. That sounded like Sasha Banks. I don't know what the hell I was going. I was trying to do Jimmy's theme song.
I think it wasn't that far off.
It wasn't that far off.
Can't really.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like
so.
No, I know it's like that. Something kind of like that, but
I agree with you. I think that the
final. But I
piece,
think it's more likely that Roman realizes that doesn't feel right without his wise man, and it never will.
So I'm with you. I think that's probably, I would say, like a week or two after Crown Jewel, probably 2, potentially.
Yeah, because you think so. I think are we in agreement that this is leading to a Bloodline civil war?
Yeah.
Okay. So
has to, right? It has to.
It has to.
Yeah.
Especially
with it being later in the month.
Who is partaking in the Bloodline civil war, Mark?
Well, now this is where things get interesting, Dillon. Because you have Solo's Bloodline, right? But if things start to heat up with Roman Reigns and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, are they going to throw The Rock in the War Games match? Are we crazy? Could that happen?
So
then we'll see how much The Rock likes wrestling.
That's
we'll
the big.
Story.
That's the biggest question, I guess. Would be if we end up getting The Rock, because I think this all leads to War Games. Roman, one by one, slowly rebuilds his bloodline to take on Solo's new bloodline. I think the most likely situation, truly, in my opinion, is Jimmy, Jay, Sammy. I think Sammy just makes the most sense at this point.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's the direction they're going, to be honest. Like, it seems like that might be the reason they kind of took the IC title off Sammy. I mean, obviously also to put it on Braun Breaker, but it seems like they have. It seems like
it's kind of like we're done. Like,
yeah,
you're the better man, Braun.
Yeah,
I'm gonna move on. My
but
Usi
also
needs me.
yeah. So that's, and obviously with them looking like they're really trying to reconnect. Maybe are they going after tag team gold this upcoming week potentially?
Who?
Jay and Sammy.
This week?
So this is random.
Okay.
Jay, not random, but a couple weeks ago, Jay hinted on Raw that he was like, it's all good. He was like, it's all good, Oos. You gonna get that IC title back from Braun Breaker next week. And he was like, and then you gonna be the double champ. Cause me and you, we gonna get some tag gold or something. Like, he was like, we going after some tag gold or something. Like,
all right, I like it.
They're definitely Sammy and Jay are definitely going after tag gold, it feels like. Because they definitely hinted at that. So I feels like that might be like how they get him back involved. And it's also, I mean, listen, man. Sammy's always been the glue, man, in that bloodline, man. Sammy's the one who wants everyone to be cool, who's like, guys, come on. We're the bloodline. Yeah. They're the ones. We the ones, Oos. Come on. Like, he's the one that's like, we ain't supposed to fight, Oos. We the ones.
Yeah.
So it feels like Sammy could be the one that's really like, you know, like in my head, I think Sammy could be the one that brings Jimmy and Jay back together. Like, I think Jay could be very pissed at Jimmy and Sammy to be like, listen, man, you guys are brothers. Like,
yeah.
That sort of thing, and like help that reconcile. So anyway, the War Games. I think the most likely scenario is Solo, Tongaloa, Tamatanga, Jacob Fatu versus Roman, Usos, and Sammy. 4v4. I think there isn't. I think the chance of, if you add The Rock, who do you add to Roman's team?
Well,
the most likely scenario before we bring in other Bloodline members, I think we can probably agree in a situation where The Rock is then in it, the most likely scenario is that Cody is then on that team probably too.
Yeah, assuming he faces The Rock
at Crown Jewel, right?
Saudi.
Yeah. So, but I think Cody is a very likely scenario in that situation. But I mean, it's gotta be, if they're gonna bring in another member of the Bloodline, the only person to bring in at this point is Zillafat too, it feels like.
Okay.
I don't think it's likely. Like, I think we're pretty much done with Bloodline members. I think Sammy is probably the last like Bloodline member, because he is the honorary Roos at the end of the day.
Of course.
I think he is the last one for like Team Roman. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to do a bit of wishful predicting more than logical predicting.
That's what I mean. Like, realistically, it's like they can't just sign every single member of this family for one story. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, so I think the most likely situation is Sammy. as much as I'm dying for them to sign Zilla Fatu,
dude. As much as I say
that would be so awesome. My God,
I will say, I don't know.
Fatu.
Did you see there was like the clip where I think it's from a while ago. I don't know how long, but he said that he gave Solo permission to use the Samoan spike. He was like, but I'm thinking about taking it back.
Oh, okay.
He was like, but I think I might take it back. Because like someone asked if Solo asked for like Zilla's blessing to use the Samoan spike. And he said he did. But this was like broken kayfabe.
So he I believe he's going by the real one, if I'm not mistaken. He's kind of like his new nickname.
I think
on
so.
the Indies with like
the main
House
one,
of Glory.
I think.
Oh, the main one.
The main one. Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
But he's also the House of Glory world champion.
Yeah, I believe he's. I think he's the House. Oh, he's the Reality of Wrestling world champion too, or is that the House? Or is that their world title?
I don't think he's. I think it's House of Glory. I think he's only the House of Glory world champ.
I think he's Reality of Wrestling world champ too.
Currently?
Yeah, I think he just won it.
Oh. Why don't you give that a bit of a Google just for those interested?
I am.
But that's also like, I don't think they're like. I feel like he probably would be signed by now if they're going to bring him into this story. But besides Zilla, there's always Lance on Hawaii is available, or Hikuleu.
Yeah, Zilla is.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, he won it like right,
Double
like it
champ.
literally might. It might have been like the week before. Like I remember, but yeah, I know he won 2 belts recently, so he's collecting them, man.
Yeah, he's collecting. He's defending against Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, that's gonna be sick.
Pretty soon in Chicago. That's gonna.
I
be
mean,
awesome.
and you gotta think. And he's gonna be on WWE. I mean, he's obviously on their radar, just being who he is and who they're from. But you gotta think, even if he doesn't end up getting involved in this story, down the line,
it'll be the story in like in a year or two.
In a year
Zilla's
or two,
gonna come up.
Zilla's gonna,
and we're gonna run it back.
Yeah,
he's gonna want the name of the tribal chief.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably Sammy if I had to throw my money on, which I think is going to be friggin' awesome. So Survivor Series War Games. I don't think, if I'm going to put a flat out prediction on it, I don't think we're gonna get The Rock in War Games, even though I think they could easily do it because he would obviously be the last person, and so he wouldn't have to wrestle for too long, and he wouldn't have to like actually like wrestle like we saw from night 1 of WrestleMania during the tag match, where they weren't like doing like that much like in-ring wrestling. They were fighting all around, so they could easily do it. I just don't think they will. And I think that Survivor Series, we will kind of know like what's going on with The Rock and with the Bloodline and like where he plays in all of this by far. In terms of after Survivor Series, this was when things were kind of getting a bit murky until WrestleMania.
I'll tell you, bro. That's when it's maybe we don't even get, and who knows? Maybe that's, I think either going into War Games, maybe The Rock doesn't participate. Either way, I think we find out, even if he's not participating, I think we find out that The Rock is probably the one that appointed Solo as the new tribal chief, whether he's wrestling or not.
Yeah.
So I think essentially that leads to after War Games. I think you start the slow build, man. Start the slow build to Mania, and then we do Rock Roman.
Do you think that...
Not the slow build, but I mean, I guess it would be kind of slow, but it wouldn't be that slow.
I mean, it's probably like 5.
No, it's like
January, February, March, April. Like 4 or 5 months.
yeah, I guess you're right.
That's a good amount of time. Do you think anyone from the Bloodline is going to win the Rumble?
Hadn't gotten that far.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
Who do you think wins the Rumble?
Probably Randy.
Yeah, I think Randy's the best bet. I really don't.
WrestleMania. Randy versus Cody.
Yeah, I really don't think
Simple.
Cena is that crazy of a bet, honestly.
Okay. I could see it. I don't think he would want to.
I agree.
But I could very easily see that happening.
Yeah, and I think essentially
Him versus Cody?
essentially just to kind of pass the torch.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So who knows? But so that's the thing, though. I think there's no way for I think you're just setting yourself up for failure, kind of. Because I think Cody's just gonna get boos. Like, because so many people are gonna want that Cena 17
against Cena.
Yeah.
Huh.
Specifically because so many people want that Cena 17. And I'm going to be honest with you. I never really thought it was going to happen. I'm pretty convinced it's going to happen. That Cena's going to get 17. Because...
Which one?
Probably the WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably Cody to Randy. Like Cody to Randy. Randy to John. It's not a bad way for it to go.
No, it's not. What do you think? Have that be Cena's last match? Have him win it and then just vacate it the next day?
Nah, he's not that type, bro.
Okay.
I feel like he would want to lose it.
Lose it to Austin Theory?
Who knows?
So yeah, what else do you think? All right, let me ask you this: do you think let's talk tag titles because the Bloodline currently has them.
Yeah,
and they're defending them against the Street Profits. Finally, the Street Profits are gaining some momentum in this fucking tag team division. Shout out the Street Profits. Assuming they're going to lose, the Street Profits are going to lose to the Bloodline. Do you think Jimmy and Jay are going to take the tag titles off of Fatu and Tama?
I'm not sure. I really don't know, man. Like, if I'm being honest, I still don't necessarily think the tag titles needed to get into the picture. I think I understand it.
They didn't.
Yeah, I understand it in the way that they're like, yeah, like Jimmy and Jay had the tag titles, and now we're slowly building up all our titles. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna hold them till Mania. No, not really. I don't think they do. I think they probably...
Okay.
I think they maybe... I mean, who would they lose?
You gotta imagine that's gonna play some sort of like a decent...
Yeah, but they're just putting them...
be like a thing...
Feels like putting the titles on Jimmy and Jay doesn't seem like something that would happen like anytime soon. Maybe I'm wrong though. No, I don't know. Like I just like don't I feel like if they get back together, they're not gonna go immediately for like a tag title run or anything like that.
Yeah, but I think they could because I think it's going to be
the story.
The story's there, and then I think like this is past Survivor Series. and it's going to be like Roman's going to have the title of Tribal Chief back, and then I think it's going to then everyone's just going to kind of be beefing with each other. So I think the next, like one of the next steps in that is going to have the Usos take the titles off of Tama and Fatu, while Roman's kind of beefing with The Rock / Solo in the coming months. So I think the Usos will beat Tama and Fatu at some point before WrestleMania. If I had to put my money on it, I'm feeling pretty good.
What does Jacob Fatu do at WrestleMania 41?
Jacob Fatu will probably win some gold.
You think so?
Probably.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, they obviously think very highly of him.
No, yeah, I'm with you. Him versus Braun? Jacob Fatu versus Braun Breaker?
That would be sick.
That would be
I
sick.
mean,
that would be sick.
Sick.
LA Knight?
But, yeah. It depends, because, like, I don't know when. Do you know when they do their draft?
After.
When is that? April? That's after Mania, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I also don't think, like, I don't think they're caring too much what titles on what show or what wrestlers on what show. So, like, even though the IC title's on
when
Raw,
it comes to Mania.
I don't. Yeah, like, I think, like, if they want Jacob Fatu to win the IC title, then they're going to have him win it regardless.
Yeah.
That he's on SmackDown or anything like that. But obviously, I think all signs would kind of point to LA Knight. And I think it could be good to kind of get him somewhat involved in this story because he's obviously a massive star. So I don't think it would be a terrible idea to kind of get him involved. But what? Rock versus Roman, WrestleMania 41. Please tell me that The Rock's going to put over Roman, right?
100%. Has to.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I fully agree. Now, I'm interested to see sort of what Solo and his bloodline do after WrestleMania, and kind of following that. I'd assume they would still be a team for quite some time, but maybe Fatu tries to take over Solo's bloodline. Is that a thing that could happen next year?
We're just going to go forever? That story just going to go forever?
Probably. Because then, I'll tell you what. Jacob Fatu is going to take it from Solo. Zilla's going to challenge Jacob Fatu for it next year.
Yeah.
Zilla Fatu. And so, I think that's a good place to wrap it up because, I mean, like we said at the top, we can literally sit here and talk about where this Bloodline stuff's going to go forever. You could probably do like a weekly watch-along type thing that they do for TV shows and literally just talk about where the Bloodline story stuff is going to go. But, like I said at the top, the two best ways to support us is to buy our merch. You can buy our Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman for President
24.
T-shirts now. $23. It's a really, really good price. Link in description, or you can head over to our bio in our social media and sign up for our Patreon. $1 a month, and you can join the World Champion tier, ad-free content, exclusive content, and early content. And you can also just join for free because we are on there posting some stuff to the free membership as well. So with that being said, I'm Mark Izzo. He is Dillon O'Brien. And this has been another episode of the Burning Hammer Podcast.
Peace.
We'll catch you all next week.